You want to start?
Yes. So thank you so much. And good to have you on a Friday evening talking about investment opportunities for the African nurses. And we have been doing these sessions in collaboration with African Nurses Flag in Germany. But we had actually requested for a meeting, but decided to, Rose suggested we set up other dates. So we will just continue with the session now, but we'll also do another session together with Rose and her amazing network. So if you're new here, and if you don't know myself, I am Caroline Mwangi, co-founder of the AG Career Hub, and Susan is also here, who is my partner on the Diaspora Investment Desk. So we've decided to venture, or let me say, educate people to diversify or to know about different investment opportunities. We've been bringing different people on the platform, and very happy to have Osman. He will introduce himself briefly and hopefully convince us why we should invest in this country. Most people are very skeptic, but we're trying to show you that it is possible to invest in this country. I don't know whether Susan has a couple of minutes to introduce herself before we start. Susan, are you still there? If not, then
yes, I am.
Okay. Feel free to introduce yourself, then we hand it over to Osman.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Good evening, everyone. I'm so humbled to be in this platform as usual. And as you know, Caroline, I'm very passionate about matters investment, because I think that it is only through investment where you can duplicate or multiply your euros, if not shillings. You know, there's only in business, or it's only in investment where you can expand your wealth and secure your future. So just like Caroline has said, the good thing is you invest wherever a possibility is. If you look at every country, different investors are going to different places for various reasons. So I think the best thing is just to diversify, invest in all places possible, as long as your money is secure. Because right now, in this time and era, the whole world is connected. So you can always we are able to supervise what is happening here and in any other place. So invest. Then you'll be able to maintain your life that you're living today, or even live better when you can't, when you're no longer productive as you are today. So welcome, karibuni sana. Let's tap some informations and from our brother here. We know it's going to materialize, and people are going to engage, and it's going to help everyone who is here. Karibuni.
Thank you, Susan. Before we hand over to Osman, we also like to show you our website. If you've not been to our website, the www.agcareerhub.com. This is a shop where you should be visiting daily, regularly under the events. That's where we post regular events. You can see we have today, that's the investment opportunities for nurses in Africa, and you can actually scroll down to see some of the past events we've done. And over here, we have now the Diaspora Investment Desk. You can also come here and visit some of the sessions we've done, so that at least we are on the same page. If you missed a session, you can always come and watch it here, or go to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to see all the sessions that we have done. So very happy to have Osman. Osman, I will show your website, and then you can introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. We're already there. Yes, I have my other page in which I would like to introduce myself. Maybe just one thing, Caroline, so I can concentrate on the presentation here. You please just admit all those who are entering right now, so that I can just stick to the presentation. Yeah. First of all, welcome everybody to our event tonight. I'm happy to be here again. I think this is the third or fourth time we're having the session. We plan to have once every month. This month we had like 2 sessions. The session with nurses was quite important to me. I mentioned it to Caroline some months ago because I just said that, okay, there's a large network of Africans in Germany, and mostly like nurses, also a very large network, and it will be interesting just to address nurses directly. Of course, this same topic, we could address everybody with it, so it's not only a topic that's just for nurses, but it's simply because of the network, and we thought, okay, let's just address them on in a single platform and just speak about investments, also because many have the same background, etc. Good. Unfortunately, we wanted to plan it with Rose, but there have been some delays, so we'll do it again hopefully sometime soon. We just need to set up a date, and we will get there. I have prepared a short presentation for today, so nothing so complicated, just some, maybe tips and tricks that you can use when you're looking into properties or want to invest in real estate. But before I get started, I would just want to introduce myself. Let me just share my screen. Let me see, where do I have my presentation? Over here. Just a minute. I'll do the full screen. Oops. I think this is full screen. Oh yeah, okay, wonderful. Good. Today's topic, investing in real estate for African nurses in Germany. Let me get into myself first, so at least you know who you're dealing with. Again, the name is Osman Nye. I'm a real estate investment advisor. I'm based in Bonn, Germany. I've been a mortgage broker, I would say, since 2012, and I concentrate on international clients. That's my focus here in Germany. I can also proudly say I am one of the very few consultants in Germany who actually just focuses on international clients, and you won't find many in Germany. So I would say this is something I do like almost daily. 60% of my clients do not even live here, they live abroad. So they could even live in Kenya and invest in Germany. In my case, many of them live in China, Israel, UK, Mexico, Arab Emirates, and so on and so forth. But several of my clients also live here in Germany and maybe have a blue card or do not necessarily speak German. And let's say very few do live in Germany. 10% work in Germany, speak German, and so on. But that's not the majority of work that I do. But with Caroline, we said that we want to concentrate on Africans living in Germany. So that's why our focus is just to push the idea of to invest in real estate or any other investment that you can think of. In my case, I would just advocate for real estate because I believe it's one of the best investments. Then maybe in addition, in the last sessions, everybody was asking, okay, is he Kenyan? Is he not Kenyan? No, I'm not Kenyan. So I said, let me also put this slide in. I was born in Egypt. I'm half Liberian, half Sierra Leonean. I'm 45 by now. And I came to Germany when I was 8. So I think that's my personal part. If you want to know more, you can feel free to ask. Okay, wonderful. Good. So what's the topic?
Let me briefly interrupt. When I met Osman through a Kenyan who never believed he can invest in this country, and Osman made him or convinced him that it is worth investing in this country, and also helped him to get a very affordable property. So I'm not sugarcoating, I'm not marketing, I'm not putting pressure on you, but I just want to show you that it is possible to invest in this country. And if you check around, it's not very circulated within our community. We don't even think most of the times to invest here. We are always investing back home. Of course, I know if you have little money, you can invest in good properties back home. But on the other hand, most of us will age in this country. So you also have to think of, like, what are my long-term goals? And actually our goal together with Osman is to make sure like at least 5 people have bought homes in this country before the year ends. Thank you, Osman. Go on.
Yeah, actually, I have a bigger goal. I will send 100 people to invest in real estate, not only five. But hopefully, we'll discuss about this program in the near future. But before I go on, let me just give you one very, very good example I always come up with. Again, this my famous client, and he really exists. He's a Tanzanian. He's been working in Germany for quite a while. His wife, he had his family as well, and he started investing. I would say even I knew him when I was a kid by then, and then I started working as a consultant, and he knew that I was working as a consultant, and he sought my advice. So I helped him to get some to refinance his properties and so on. And he now has properties in Tanzania as well as one in Germany. So I thought that he did it very, very good because now he can be moving back and forth. He's in Tanzania sometimes in Germany, and has his place that he can stay. In the meantime, of course, he's been renting out the properties in Tanzania, generating his income from there. At some point in time, he would also transfer his properties that he has here, or the property he has here, to his children, which is also possible, tax-free, but we'll get to taxation in a different session if you like. And this is something I always look up to because he's somebody who did something at the early stage. He didn't wait till I don't know when and wanted to start. So again, we are just advocating if you want to start soon, start today, I would say. And hopefully in the next session when I want to, Caroline, maybe you know about it now, but I want to discuss to bring the tax advisor in the next session because she would also give you an idea why is it interesting to always like do the real estate investment before a year had ended. There's some benefits that you can take along with you as an investor, but not as a property owner. Let's say a property in which you live yourself. Good. Saying that, yeah, and maybe one other thing. What I have realized in my career now, I've been doing it for quite a while. It's very funny that very few of my clients are Africans. Very few. I do not understand why. Maybe there's an idea behind why not invest in Germany. Well, it's catching up with the younger Africans who are working here now, have maybe had families here now, and so on. It's catching up. But in the past, there were very few Africans that I had as clients. So we hope to change this as well, to say that we can also invest in real estate. And it's quite simple, to be honest. Wonderful. Good. Let me jump into the next slides. What we're going to discuss about today. The first question is actually towards you. And there's a box down here in which you can write comments. I would invite all of you just to answer the first question. Why don't I invest in real estate? Just give us a statement. We'll read through it, and then I'll try to address those points and see, yeah, where are the fears? Maybe one is afraid, maybe has a different idea of investing in real estate. Why haven't you done it up to now? So that's the first question we want to give you. While I go to the next point. Hello. Okay. So while I'm going through the next points, feel free to put in your statements. Why didn't you invite up to now? So that yeah, I can address those points. So please feel free to just put in the chat box, or maybe you want to speak directly, and then of course you can speak. The second point would be how much property can I afford? I'll show you a link in which you can, they have different calculators on it. And one of the calculators I think is very important is how to calculate your household costs. Of course, everybody believes, oh, this is something you can do easily, but I want to give you the idea behind calculating the cost of living or your household costs. And why is it important? Because ultimately, when you're taking out a loan, this is exactly what the bank is also doing. They of course, have their own calculators, but just for you to be prepared when you want to go ahead and speak to a banker or to get a loan. Then the last point would be a bit practical, is how to determine a good investment. In our case, we're mostly focusing on using real estate as an investment vehicle, not necessarily as a property in which you want to live in. Of course, if you want to live in a property and need to have it financed, you can also reach out to me, and I can also assist you in that regard. But let's say for this session, we want to focus on using real estate as an investment vehicle. Okay, so let me jump in the first point. Why don't I invest in real estate? Does anybody wants to say something? Anybody wants to type something? Or should I just randomly pick somebody?
Maybe we can ask people to raise their hands, those who are confident. Or just unmute yourself and say a statement. Don't be scared. Sylvia.
I have a question. I'm interested in real estate, but I'm kind of not for myself to live in, but like to invest the money I have so that I can get some returns.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain age when you reach, you can't be able maybe to afford maybe a house, maybe an apartment for the future, maybe for pension. I'm speaking like this because I'm 50 and my children are grown up, and I'm looking into the future, like towards pension and what happens, because I know at the pension time, maybe the cash will be a little bit less if I don't invest well. And then the cost of living would be high, because we have to face a reality that maybe we will not go back home. Yeah, maybe our lives will be here. And when our lives are here, maybe at home we can afford it. But what happens if we stay here in our pension, in our retirement time?
Okay, so basically the question is wanting to invest in real estate and for retirement purpose in order to have an additional pension, right?
Yes.
Okay, now you already stated the point clearly. Of course, the age does matter strongly, and going towards retirement age, which is 67, which means there's still 17 years in order to put your money into a good investment that would give you a decent amount of return. Then of course you need to consider this investment that you want to go ahead with. How much additional capital do you have to put in during the investment period, which means from now till the age of 67, which one needs to consider. We had this slide in the last session to determine what's the best return you can receive. I would say ideally, if you're investing into a property, the property should be able to pay off the monthly installments. I mean, the monthly cost of the property. It should be able to pay off the interest towards the bank and also the principal. And on top of it, if it can give you some additional cash flow, so which means you still have money going into your pocket out of the rent. That is the ideal case. Unfortunately, it's not always that way. You will find some properties, if you go ahead with those investments, that would give you a negative return. Now, a negative return or negative cash flow better is not necessarily bad. It's as long as the money that you're getting out of the rent is sufficient enough to cover your interest payments. That's the most important point towards the bank. The interest payments and the running costs of the property. The rent should cover those. And anything above money that you are now putting towards the property, which is the principal, is basically like a savings plan. So that one you could also have in the back of your mind. The money that you are putting towards the property, the principal now that you're paying out of your monthly salary, if it's going towards the property, then it is to be seen as a savings plan, right? That after some period of time, let's just say 500 euros is going towards the property every year, then you can simply do the math. 500 times 12 times 17 is the amount of money you can expect as a lump sum payment over time, at least. Yeah. If the property still has the same value by the time you retire. But there are several factors you need to consider when you want to go ahead and invest into property now. Of course, you need a certain amount of capital. We'll get into the calculation. How much capital do you need? How do you determine the capital that you need in order to do a certain investment? So we'll get to it as well. But again, the point was good that you raised. It's important to also think of retirement. That's one point when you invest in real estate. Also, the running cash flow. Is it positive? Is it negative? If negative, does it cover the interest as well as the running cost? So those are questions that one would have to clear. But we'll get into that as well. I'll show you some things here. Jules, you have a question? Or maybe Sylvia, was that okay as an answer for now? Was it clear? Okay, I believe yes. So let's just go ahead with Jules. Jules, I see your hands is up, please.
Yeah, personally, I haven't invested in real estate because there's little information concerning the topic. And then second, I've been seeing when you look at when you look into the matter, there's always this house girl that you have to pay later on. Now I was always wondering, now is this money, do I pay it even after I own the home, or is it that was very unclear. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Yes, the house guilt is also something which many always somehow put aside and forget as if it's not there. Those costs are there. And again, if you're investing in real estate, as I mentioned before, the rent that you're receiving should definitely be enough to cover the running cost, which is also the house guilt, because in the house guilt, you have the cost for the insurance, you have the cost for trash, you have the cost for cleaning, you have several different costs within the house guilt. And it's simply just like the Nebenkostenabrechnung. If you look at it now, you're also paying your Nebenkosten. So the house guilt is simply just the Nebenkosten, right? Now, if you're an owner or renting out a property, then you would be, we always say 1/3 of those costs, you have to cover it, because these are non-recoverable costs, right? Because 2/3 is mostly covered by the tenant who is now using your apartment, and 1/3 you have to cover it out of your own pocket, right? So now, if the rent is not sufficient to cover this portion, 1/3 of your own part, then you would have to pay it out of your salary. And that should not necessarily be the case. Yeah, the rent should be enough to cover all those in best case. Yeah. So again, we would also get into this calculation later on. You'll see that besides the you're receiving meter, and then they say, okay, the house guilt is amount X, right? Then 2/3 of those costs would be actually covered by the tenant, yeah, and 1/3 should be covered by you. And if that's the case, the rent should be sufficient to cover that amount. Was that good? Was that clear?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Any other points? Anything that's...
We have a comment in the chat from Georgina. She says, I always think it's expensive, and where do I start?
Good question. Wonderful. I want to say yes, it's expensive. If you want to invest in real estate, there are good properties that are out there. Now, about the part being expensive, that's relative argument. Now, what exactly is expensive? I cannot say that. You can always compare to different other properties in Germany. You'll find some areas in which you pay like 10,000 euros per square meter, right? But then the rent you can receive is so extremely good that you even forget those expenses, because it won't be expensive anymore, because your return is so high that the cost doesn't even play much of a role. Or you can go into some areas where you find a property that you have for 1,000 euros per square meter, and then let's just say it's a 20 square meters apartment, right? But the rent that you can receive is so low that doesn't make the investment attractive. So it's always a question, it's very relative. What is expensive actually? But again, in order to calculate that, in order to determine the amount of property you can afford, this we'll do it, I'll show you shortly. But yes, it costs. There are some initial investments that need to be made at the beginning, and the remaining, mostly you're taking out a loan to cover the purchase price in most cases. And if you're taking out a loan, then one needs to consider that the return of investment should be higher than the capital cost. If not, then it's a bad investment. But this is also something that we would get in when we have our discussion. They said the other point was, besides it being expensive, what was it again in the chat?
Where and how to start.
Yeah, where and how to start. This is also one point that we get in. That's point number 3, how to start, where to start, and where to get in. And we would also have to calculate how much property can I afford in order to start the search. Because if you start searching, looking around, and then you find out later, oh, I can't afford it, and it was a useless search. So you need to set up your framework, determine how much property you can afford before you can go ahead and do your proper search. Well, I'll tell you exactly how you should best search. Anybody else? Okay, then let me just jump into it directly. The first point that I wanted to discuss, oops, what happened here? How much property can I afford? Now there's a very interesting calculator which is called n-haydon.de. If you go on this calculator, you'll find so many different calculators for different investment, for different interesting topics, I would say. If you get to this webpage, where you would have to go to is Wohnen und Leben and Haushaltsrechner. So we'll just do it right now if you just follow me here. So this is the platform. This is the calculator. And over here, oops, let me just close this. Over here, you have Wohnen und Leben. What I mostly use for my clients when I'm calculating, I go into Kredit and Finanzierung, because there you can do so many calculations in regards to financing, which is quite interesting. But let's just go into what I wanted to show you, Wohnen und Leben. And when you're here, you go into Haushaltsrechner. Because now if you're going to a bank and you want to get a loan from the bank, okay, ideally you'll come to me. But if you're going to a bank and you want to speak to a bank, this is something that they always do, right? They will go ahead and say, how much money do you earn? How high is your income? Do you have other incomes besides your regular income, like after capital investments, other incomes? Over here, you need to also include Kindergeld. They did not include Kindergeld over here. I'm not seeing it at least. And then, of course, you also go ahead and list up your expenses. Yeah, your cost of living per month, your housing cost, which is how high your rent, the electricity, gas, water. So you simply just list up everything. I'm not going to make any changes here now. And yeah, how much, if you have a car, you would also list up the different costs for your car and so on and so forth. So this is always something that's been done by the bank. And at the end of the day, they would want to find out what's important. How high is your free liquidity? So basically, if you go ahead with this calculator and you have determined, okay, this is my monthly income, those are my monthly expenses, I have free liquidity of 548. Okay. Now, why is this 548 important? Let me just show you a calculation that you could do in order to determine how much property, oops, untitled pool.
Sorry, I'm just collecting some information. Just go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you. Just a poll which people can help us to answer the poll. Yes, with time.
And then here you would determine how much property can you afford, or the bank would say you only have 548, let's say 550 left as free liquidity for any potential investment. Okay. Now, if you want to assume you want to finance a property 100%, okay, then at least you have to pay the transaction costs. Yeah. Now, what are the transaction costs? I'll get to it soon. The notary fees, land transfer tax, as well as estate agent fees. Let's say you're buying the property in Hessen, in Frankfurt. Okay. Now you have notary fees of 2%, estate agent fees of let's say 3.57%, or let's say 3%, and you have land transfer tax of 6%. So in total, you have something like around 11%, right? So, oh, sorry, I was doing a different calculation. Okay, now let me get back. Okay, let's say you have the 550 euros, and you want to determine how much property can you afford. Now you want to invest, buy the property 100% loan. You don't want to use your own money, but at least you have to pay the transaction cost. So we just calculate here 550, and now divided by 0.08. This one times 12. So this 82,000 euros is basically what you can afford with a monthly installment towards the bank of 550. Yeah. So this is simply how the bank would go ahead and calculate what can you afford with the amount of free liquidity you have available.
So that means you can buy a property worth 82,500 euros if this is your net salary after deducting the main cost, right?
Yeah, if it's your free liquidity. Yeah. After you deducted all your costs from your monthly income, yeah, all your running costs, and then what remains would be the free liquidity, which is the 550. And how much can this 550 afford? It would be an amount of 82,500. Now, why did I calculate with 0.6%? Because I do know the interest rates, right? The interest rates are around 4 to 5%. I just use 4%, and you have to do a repayment. So basically, the 6% is the annuity, yeah, that you'll be paying back towards the bank, at least nowadays. It could, before, I'll say 2 years ago, I would have calculated with, let's say, 3 or 4%, because by then the interest rates were much lower than today. Yeah. Was this somehow clear? Did this give you an idea of how much property can I afford based on my free liquidity?
So that means if I want to take a loan of like 300,000 euros, I may not afford with this kind of salary.
If you want to take a loan of 300,000 euros, then again, 300,000, yeah, times 0.06, which means divided by 12. You need to have a free liquidity of 1,500 euros. So after all your expenses, you need to have 1,500 euros remaining on your account. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this kind of calculation is just under the consideration that, let's just say, it is actually the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you buy an apartment and there's no tenant for a whole year. And if there's no tenant, then obviously you have to pay the monthly installment towards the bank out of your income. Yeah. So then let's say in the worst case scenario, this 550 euros will be sufficient enough to cover the monthly installment towards the bank. Yeah. In the best case scenario, you wouldn't even have to use your money. Yeah. And even in the real best case scenario, you would even receive money on top. Yeah. So now I just showed you what is the worst case scenario, what could happen. Was this somehow clear? Susan?
Can you scroll down this calculator to see?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, yeah.
So this is
well, at least you really spent. You really spent.
Oh, yeah.
What if you show us a scenario where someone is not spending so much, like on?
Okay, good. Then I would ask one of you to help me now, so that I won't do it by myself. Let's just say, who can help me?
Okay.
Jules, can you help me?
Sure.
Wonderful. Okay. Let's just say income is 3,000 euros. Cost of living. Let's just say it's a person living alone with kids.
Yeah.
Okay. What will be the Lebenshaltungskosten, which is just for food, groceries, and so on, per month? What would you say? 1,000?
Yeah, 1,000.
Per
That's
month.
including food and what?
Lebenshaltungskosten including food. You're going to the gym, buying
You're
newspaper,
buying clothes for the kids.
buying clothes, and so on.
Clothes for the kids. 500.
Maybe 500.
Okay, let's say 500. Okay, then insurances. If you have any insurances, how much do you use for insurances per month?
100.
That's not that's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, the rent. Let's say a small apartment, not necessarily big. Or you in Munich? It's expensive, I know.
No, we're not in Munich here for this scenario.
No. Let's say 700.
Okay. Strom, Wasser, I think that's realistic. Strom,
That's
Heizung.
okay. Yeah.
Oops, I made a mistake. This is the Monat. Wasser, Versicherung, we already had. Wohnversicherung, I don't think there will be much.
No.
I
Nah.
think Wasser is also yearly. Yeah.
Wasser 100 is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Grundsteuer, okay, you're not paying any Grundsteuer. Sonstige Kosten, let's see. 0.
Mhm.
Radio, Fernseh, yes. How do you call them again? They always want money.
Mhm.
But it's 50 mostly.
The Gebühren, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
From the Gebühren. Telephone, 100. I think 100 is a lot for telephone. Internet, 30.
Maybe 60,
Yeah.
Yeah. Or 50.
including internet. Yeah, 50. Mhm.
Okay. Do you own a car?
Yeah.
Okay, 100 is okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, what about maintenance for the car per year? 1,000?
Not every year. It varies.
Okay, let's just say
Like-
5.
Yeah.
What about insurance?
300.
That's for the car. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Per
taxes,
year. Mhm.
100 per year. It's realistic.
Mhm.
Sports, wellness.
Good question.
Okay, so we know that you don't do sports.
Well, I go to the park.
Okay. Okay. Let's just
Yeah,
leave
yeah,
that.
yeah.
What about all up 4,000? Is that realistic with a kid?
Yeah, per year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's just leave the rest open with calculate. So over here, you see, here's a
Mhm.
different picture.
Mm.
So you have like a 1,076, right? And now what can 1,076 give you in the worst case scenario, which means you have to pay the monthly installment towards the bank. And ideally, of course, you have a tenant, the tenant is paying the rent towards the bank. So you have 1,076 divided by 0.06.
Why you taking 6%?
6%, yes, is because if you are financing the property 100%, which means you're only paying the transaction cost and you're taking a loan from the bank to buy this property, then you mostly pay an interest around 4% nowadays or higher. Yeah. And you also have to pay back the loan. And the minimum repayment rate most banks offer right now is 2%. So which means 4.26, which is the 6%.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So this amount that we received, the 17,900 times 12 because of 12 months, which means you for the property 215,000 with a free liquidity of 1,076.
So we can get a small apartment to rent and rent it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be a decent apartment with 215, depending where you're buying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So was that clear?
Mhm.
Good. So
Interesting.
this is just one calculator I would like to show you here on this website. There are so many other calculators that you can use. It's quite interesting. What I mostly use when I'm dealing with my clients is the Hypothekenrechner, where I can go ahead and calculate how much, let's just say with a 215, the same amount that I use right now, 215. We have an interest rate of 4%. Oops. What happened? And a repayment rate of 2%. Let's just say 10 years fixed interest duration, which gives us again the same amount, 1,076 monthly installment towards the bank. Yeah. And this amount we have to pay back for 27 years in order to pay off the entire loan. Yeah. So this is just some calculators which you can use just to calculate different things. I find it very interesting and it's really helpful. And anytime I want to present a case towards a bank, I always use this calculator. Or when I want to speak to a client, I show them this calculator just for them to use it privately. And again, you can do so much with it and it's really helpful.
Could you please drop the link in the chat of these calculators?
Yeah, just a minute.
Thank you. And please finish the poll. I still have a few people who have not participated in the call. Thank you.
Oops, now my this one is quite slow, but never mind. Let me just jump in the presentation now. Oh yeah, here's the link. www.n-heydon.de. I somehow cannot enter the. Could you please just type it in the chat, because somehow I'm not entering the chat.
Are you not? Okay. Just hold on a minute.
Yeah, www.n-heydon.de.
Okay, Martha is asking, can you explain the 6% again? Can you see the chat now?
No, it's still loading. Let me try to explain the 6% by using something else quickly. Let me just jump into. Sorry. Something is going on with my Zoom. Close the program.
No, don't. Okay. Seems to have problems with his Zoom. Maybe he has opened so many windows. As you wait for him, maybe you can finish for us the poll. Let me see if I can tell him to join again. Are you still there, all of you? Right, yes, yeah. Okay, only Osman is out. Okay. Let's wait for him to come back then. Okay, let me see if I can get. He's coming back. Just give me 2 to 3 minutes. His computer crashed kidogo, but he's coming back. How do you find the session so far? A lot of mathematics? I hope not. Okay. In the meantime, I have shared Osman's contact. You can contact him on WhatsApp. Organize for a session. He will not charge you for any further consultation, because the banks, for example, if you decide to buy a property he will not charge you anything. The banks are the ones who pay him. So do a follow-up, just engage him as much as you can, because that's what he does. And he's really willing to help as many Africans as possible understand systems here. So msiogope, yeah. And he's coming back, then he can explain to us about the 6%. Actually, I just wanted to mention, like, this, maybe let's stop. Yeah, he's back. He's back, okay. Please don't forget my poll. We still have only 9 people who have taken part. Just help me so that at least we know out of the 15, like, what are you looking for? If you're a nurse, not a nurse. Ah, you're back. Okay, good.
Yeah, sorry, I just jumped out.
No problem.
Let me just start my
Presentation
again, and I'll get to Martha's question. Just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just share my screen. Okay. Okay, then let me just jump into Martha's question directly. Now, the 6%, how do I come up with the 6%? Now, let's say this is the property we intend to buy. Let me just go ahead and do the reconstruction again. Let's say 48,000 euros property you want to buy. And then you, of course, you want to finance the entire 48,000 euros, right? Now, if you want to finance this 48,000 euros, here's the loan amount. Here you can get different banks and you see the different conditions that they would offer, right? And now let's just say, now, of course, only what is green is interesting, what is red is basically a bank which is not willing. What is all in orange is something that, yeah, we need to do some adjustments in order for the bank to be interested in it. Let me just go to something that's in orange. Then you would see over here, this is the interest rate that the bank is charging, 5.34%. So which means, and here is 4.76%. So everything is above 4%, as you can see. Now, I was a bit on the downside calculation with 4%. Of course, we need to do some adjustments in the system in order to get the 4%. Well, here you can see all the different interest rates that banks would offer. Starting with the minimum, you see 4.6 and going upwards. So basically, this is the interest rate we can somehow expect if you're looking for 100% financing. Now, besides the 4%, I said, okay, you want to pay back the loan at a rate of 1% per annum. Okay, so simply just by calculating, let's say this 1% plus the 4.66 in this case, or 63, which is 5.63. Now I said, okay, we want an annuity of 6%, just a rough calculation, so at least you can have an idea of, how much loan can I get if you are looking into financing a property for 100%. But again, this 6% is I didn't just come up with it, but I do have a good idea of how an annuity could look like. If you would want to know in your case, on your specific case, how much a bank would charge you, then we would have to get into a bit deeper conversation. I need to ask several questions, and then I can determine the amount of interest a bank would be willing or would be offering, and the amount of repayment, and so on and so forth. So again, 6% is just an annuity based on my experience. Martha, was that clear? I hope yes. The kids are still not asleep.
I think so. And I shared your contact details and I told them they can get in touch.
Okay, wonderful. Good. What's the next? Okay, then from here, I would also want to go into another step in how you can calculate or how you can best move forward if you're looking for a property. Now, this is just one example of how you can best determine a good investment. There are also different other ways, different things you could do if you want to. So this is just what I would advise you to go ahead with. But of course, there are different ways you can do. Okay, for example, the first step would be, what do I want to invest? Now, this question is also in regards to the region. Now, you would have to set for yourself a goal. Where do I want to invest? Do I want to invest in Frankfurt? Do I want to invest in Munich? Do I want to invest in Dortmund? Wherever you think it's an ideal location for you, based on your research and based on conversations with others, with specialists or with friends, colleagues, and so on and so forth. So it is simply up to you to determine where do you want to invest in and where do you feel comfortable investing in, right? So that's the first point. After you have determined a region in which you want to invest in, and it could also be, I want to invest in Kenya. That's also another topic that you could say, oh, this is where I want to invest in. And even if you do so, you still need to follow some guidelines and some steps in order to determine the best investment. So the second question would be, how much property can I afford? Now, this is from a different view. Initially, we said from the view of your free liquidity, right? With your free liquidity, how much property can I afford? Now, this is a view from the amount of cash you have on your bank account. Yeah. So now, depending on the amount you have on your bank account, 10,000, for example, and now you want to make sure that with this 10,000 euros, you can cover at least the transaction costs, which is the notary fees, land transfer tax, as well as estate agent fees. Yeah. Now in Munich is 3.5% land transfer tax. In Hessen, 6%. In North Rhine-Westphalia is 6.5%, and so on and so forth. Now I just decided, yeah, we want to buy in Hessen, and where is 6%? The land transfer tax, which is Grunderwerbsteuer. Then we have the notary fees, Notargebühren, which is 2% roughly. And in many areas, depending on which agency you're dealing with, you have like a 3.57% Maklergebühren, which is the estate agent. So based on this amount, again, it's the same calculation. Let me just go for my calculator.
Let me just add on, comment on something for the people who do not know what these costs are. These are the costs that you pay when you're buying property. So you have to pay for the taxes, it's called Grunderwerbsteuer. You have to pay Finanzamt. You have to pay for the notar when you go to the notar and get that that title that the property belongs to you. So those are basically the costs that you have to pay or to cover when you're buying property.
Exactly. Well said. Good. If you now go ahead and do the same calculation, 10,000, right? Divided by 6.2, which is 11.57. Yeah. Divided by 11.57. And this amount times 100, because the 11.57 is in percentage, then you get an amount of 86,430. Okay. So if your aim is to cover the transaction costs with your 10,000 euros that you have available, then the maximum amount of property you can afford would be 86,400. Okay, so now you can go ahead and make the calculations for yourself. Now, if you say you have 15,000 on your account, okay, 15,000, and you want to only cover the transaction costs, let's say in Munich. In Munich, we have 3.5% land transfer tax. We have, again, the 2% notary fees, and let's just say we have 3.5% Maklergebühren. So which means 6, which is 8%. Now, the same calculation, 15,000 divided by 0.08, 0.08, oops, that's a mistake, divided by 0.08, So which means in Munich, I can afford with my 15,000 a maximum property price of 187,500 euros. Yeah. So this is the next step you have to do with whatever amount you have, with whatever cash you have. You need, and you say the aim is to finance the property 100%. And again, why 100%? I would advise, as long as the return on investment, I would get into what the return of investment is. As long as the return of investment is higher than the cost of capital, the cost of capital is the interest that you're paying towards the bank, then I would take a loan from the bank as much as possible. Yeah, that's why it makes sense. If the return on investment is lower than the cost of capital, then I wouldn't even do this investment anymore, because it doesn't make sense, because I'm actually paying on top from my own pocket just to invest in a property that I know I'm going to lose. Yeah, it's a loss investment, I would say. Good.
Let me ask a question that many people ask. So if assuming I don't have this 10,000 euros,
Yeah.
and I want to buy a property, do I always have some little money in the account for me to finance my mortgage with the bank? The bank do they have always to see that I have 10%?
Yeah,
roughly.
yeah. Well, it is always good to have sufficient money to cover the transaction costs, right? And especially in this at this time around, where you have high interest rates, you wouldn't find a bank which is willing to cover the purchase price plus the transaction costs.
Okay.
If we were talking like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, where we had like really low interest rates, and we had decent property prices, and on top of it, the rents that you were generating were so good that it's completely sufficient to cover the transaction costs, the running costs, the interest rates towards the bank, and you would even get some positive cash flow on top. In those days, the banks were happy to even go ahead and finance the transaction costs, unless you had a good, let's say, a nice income. Let's say if you have an income of 2,000, 3,000 euros, and as a running income, your household calculation is positive, right? Then the bank will be willing to offer you that amount of loan, and you didn't even have to bring any of your money within this investment. But nowadays, because of this high interest rates, it is very wise to bring a good amount of capital, at least the transaction costs. In some cases, you might even have to bring more. But this is something we would have to determine. I'm just looking into a case right now. You want to finance the property 100%, and we are sure that the property we want to buy, the return that the property would give us, is enough to cover the interest. Yeah. Now, let me get into one point in regards to the return the property would offer. I had a property right now. I hope I saved it. Just a minute. This blah blah blah. Okay, here in Offenbach. Yeah, I selected one property earlier this because I was calculating for some other clients. Now, this is something in Offenbach. Again, 84,000 euros is a purchase price, 31 square meters. And this property is giving you a, where does it say again? Sorry, just a moment. Yeah, a rent of 456 euros. Okay. Now, again, the simple calculation you can do, it doesn't matter. You can go into any platform. You can always do the same calculation to simply determine the initial return of this investment. Okay, this is what we want to know. The initial return, just to find out, does it make sense to go ahead with this property, yes or no? So what we do, we have 456.86 euros, which you're receiving per month. Now for the whole year, times 12, which is 5,482. And this amount, you simply just divide it by the purchase price, which is 84,000. Times 100. Oh, I made a mistake. Let me just do it again very quick. 6.86 times 12 equals to divided by 24,000 times 100. So this is what I mean. This is the initial return of investment, which is 6.52%. Now, this initial return is higher than a potential interest rate. Let's just look at this one, for example, Sparkasse Oberhausen, which is 5.32. As long as my initial return that I've calculated over here, the 6.52, as long as this initial return is higher than the cost of capital, then I should take as much loan as possible from the bank. Only then. If, for example, my initial return over here, 6.52%, is lower than the cost of capital, let's just say we're going ahead with this bank here, Volksbank, which a cost of capital of 6.37. This is very close, but I wouldn't do this investment because the cost of capital, I just need to, let's say, if I don't receive one rent, then I'll lose. Yeah. So in this case, you need to receive the highest rent possible every month. Your apartment use, the running cost should be as low as possible in order to make this for a good investment. Yeah. Somebody wants to enter. Let me ask very quickly. Where are we? Where's my chat box? I can't see everybody. Oh, here. Let me ask. I don't want to take Jules. I've talked to Jules so much today. Miss Bello, you just entered. I hope you were following. Did you understand what I said last in regards to the rate of return and cost of capital? Was that clear? Or Vela, was it clear to you? Is anybody there?
Yeah, I'm right here. Everything was clear.
Okay, perfect, wonderful. Okay, someone is looking. Great. Okay, good. Then let me just get back to the presentation. So we determined our region where we want to invest. We said we want to invest in Hessen area. Then we determined the amount of property we can invest. Then we went ahead and said, okay, the next step would be now to start searching for the property. Now, this part of the job takes time. It's not that you'll find the next best property immediately. It might take some weeks, months in order to find the property that you actually want to go ahead with. Now, one solution is we want to make sure that our costs are as low as possible. So obviously you'd like to avoid the estate agent fees, right? Or let's say, instead of just looking on the platforms, because you have platforms like Immobilien Scout, Immowelt, Neubaukompass, Nullprovision.de, and so on and so forth. You've got so many platforms. This is one way you can look for properties. Another way you could look for properties is simply just by getting in touch with the estate agents, which are around the area that you're interested in. Just reach out to them, send them a message saying, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm interested in investing in properties in your area. Do you have any property that gives me a minimum return of 5%? I always use 5% because 5% is the amount. If you're below 5%, then you might end up being below the cost of capital, which is the interest. So therefore, I would always advise, if you're looking for a good investment, the return of investment, which we calculated over here, yeah, by simply calculating the rents you would receive times 12 divided by the purchase price, then you receive the return on investment. The return on investment should be definitely higher than a purchase price. Sorry, the capital cost, which is the interest rate. You simply, again, get in touch with the estate agent. I'm looking for a property within your region. If you come up with something, please also inform me, or please put me in your newsletter So at least I can receive new information about every new properties that you have within your portfolio. This is also very good because what many asset agents do is that they always look within their portfolio first and to see, do I have any clients who might be interested in the properties that I have before they go to the market? Because if it's at the market now, it might be the case that the prices are already high. It will be difficult or a bit more challenging to negotiate the prices. Yeah. Another thing you could do is, for example, you can talk with neighbors, with friends, find out. I spoke to a lady the last time. She said within her own apartment that she used to live, one of the landlords, he's selling a property. So also get in touch with colleagues or within this group, speak to each other, find out is there any interesting property within a specific region. So those are how the best ways to get to properties. And again, by getting into a property directly from an owner, it's the best way where you can even negotiate the prices, because if it gets to the market now, in some cases you have to do all those biddings and so on, then you increase the price automatically. So the best information you can get is from friends, colleagues. Again, reach out to estate agents to find out where you can get the best property. But of course, you need to set the framework. Would be, I want an investment that would give me a return of at least 5%. Yeah, that would be the best. Step number 4 would be to contact an estate agent or real estate investment advisor like myself. After doing all that, now I always say, if you have challenges going through all this first point to determine the region, find out how much property, do the search and so on, you can even get in touch with me from the beginning on, so we can already start a conversation that I can just act as a guide, just to give you some ideas what you could do, how the loan could look like, where to search best, even to examine the properties. Because when you get a property, it's not only the shell you look into, we also need to look into the documents and to determine, okay, does this investment make sense, yes or no? Yeah. So this is where I invite you, if you want to get started and you want to discuss with me now, you can also reach out to me at any time. So what happens if you reach out to me? There's a calculator I use for many of my clients to determine if an investment is good or not. This is this one down here. I already made a calculation for this property. So what do we do here? Can everybody see this?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. So what I did, I went over ahead and said, okay, we have the property which costs 84,000 euros. Then you have the transaction cost. Again, my 10,000 can cover this transaction cost, which is 9,215. And then I need to set some conditions. Now, some of my conditions would be the running cost, how high it would be. Here I put in 999 per year, which is my running cost. Why? If we take a look at this property, over here, here, Jules, you see, was it Jules? The house guard, right? Which we have to consider. The house guard of 299, right? Now, if I go ahead and say 299 is my house guard per month, this times 12. Where's my calculator? Let me do it so everybody can see. Yeah, 299 times 12. So this will be over a year, the house guard that I will be having, right? Now, I just said, okay, divided by 3, because 1/3 I have to cover it out of my own funds, would be around 1,196. I just said it's 999, so roughly 1,000, okay? Is the amount I would have to cover, because the rest is being covered by the tenant, obviously, okay? So now if I consider my house guard, I've considered everything, then now what would I do? I would go ahead and say, yeah, this is the initial return that I've calculated here. You see, the 6.5%, yeah? Then I would go ahead and determine the interest. Here my interest is, again, this is an interest-only loan. So I said it's 4.97%, and the loan I would pay back within 29 years. Okay. Then it will give me several, and here I want to finance the property 100%. Where does it say? So again, the 83,800, this is roughly 84,000. So I'm going to finance the property 100%. This is the 100% loan I'm taking. And the rest, I will bring in the 9,000. I'll bring in out of my own funds because I have 10,000. Then it will give me a stream of income that I have over here. I don't want to get into the details here, but what's the most important part is, let me go down here. Now, we started off with an initial return of 6%, 6.5%. I hope you remember. That's the initial return. And this initial return doesn't tell me what my return is going to be ultimately. It just gives me an idea if this investment is good or not. So it's just something that gives me a guideline, but that's not the end. Why? Because we need to consider taxes. We need to consider the interest that you're paying. We need to consider the depreciation of the property and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, if I do consider all those, here's the rate of return after financing and taxes is then 9%. Yeah. So what does it actually mean in numbers? In numbers, it basically means I put in 9,000 in the property, 9,320. And at the end of my investment period, I would receive 37,000. So the 37,000 minus the 9,000, etc. Here you have your 22,000.
That is after 10 years.
That's after 10 years. That's what you've gained on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of course you receive your 9,000 back, and then you've gained roughly 22,000 on top.
How much is that if one saved per month? So times divide by 10, that's about 2
per month.
Yeah.
The 22,000
per year. Like per year is
you are divided
2,000 euros.
Divided by 10. It should have been like 2,000 euros. Now, what you need at the beginning, it doesn't sound like, oh wow, okay. But now what you need to compare it with, for example, let's just say you put money on your account, the 9,000 on your regular bank account. You already know, you're already laughing. That's good. you wait long till you get 2,000. And now another example is, I also did the calculation. It's also a question if you put, I was checking into, let me check something very quickly. I hope I find it very easily. Girokontovergleich, Girokontovergleich. Okay, here you get the, I hope I can, no, that's not it. I had to do it now because my computer broke down. I had to restart it. Now I can't find it. Okay, never mind. What I actually wanted to show is that if you go on Girokontenvergleich and then you get something like Tagesgeldkonto. The Tagesgeldkonto, you can find some that give you a return of something like 3% or 4%. So even if you do the calculation there, what I calculated is that after 10 years, you simply just gain like 4,000 euros. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is just to compare an investment in real estate compared to other kind of investments, even ETFs and so on. With ETFs, again, you can put a lump sum payment. You need a return of roughly like 10, 15% in order to get the same result after 10 years. Yeah. So these calculations everybody can make by themselves if you like to. But in my case over here, I just want to see on a realistic view, if I put 9,000 into a property now, and I do certain good financial investments, how much can I get out of this property? And also some other thing which is interesting is that there's the topic called Vermögenswirksame Leistungen. I do not know if everybody receives it from the employer, because if you do also receive such Vermögenswirksame Leistungen from the employer, You can combine this Vermögenswirksame license with Bausparkontrakt contracts, yeah, and you can use the Bausparkontrakt contracts again for your property investments. And so at the end of the day, you are actually, I mean, besides the 9,000 initial investments, you are not making any contributions towards the property. And that's actually the best case scenario. It's simply you just have it rented out for 10 years, you put in initial investment, and then everything is being covered by the tenant. The tenant is saving for you, the tenant is paying the interest for you, paying the running costs for you, everything. And you simply just collect your money when you sell the property at the end of the year, at the end of the investment period.
And at the end of the 10 years, the property will have, they hardly depreciate, right? Unless there's a crisis.
Well, what we're hoping, because I mean, yeah, one can never say property prices fall. I mean, yes, of course, they go down, they go up, and so on. But what we have seen in the past, let me show you one slide that I had.
It's just going up, yeah.
Yeah, just a moment. Where is it?
Maybe you can stop sharing the screen first, and then you can share so that you don't share anything with.
Yeah, no, there's nothing sensitive I'm sharing.
Okay, like last time.
Yeah, last time it was. No, but this time is all good. Okay, now this is another presentation I had the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just stop this one and start the next one. So this is a slide in which we can see, oops,
yeah,
how the property prices have developed.
Mm-hmm.
So over here you can see we're now in 2023, and then you can see that since 2010 in that area, the property prices in Germany have been increasing over time. So which means we're somewhere here right now, yeah. So there's a slight fall, yes, but still we do not expect that the property prices will be going in towards, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this scenario. It's very unlikely.
Mm-hmm. Is it because of the, I don't know, what do you think triggered it to change that drastically from 2011, 2013?
Oh, it was speculation. Many people were speculating nowadays. I mean, you could get cheap loans. If you take a look at this point in time, you can get like loans for very cheap at those times, right? Or let's say they were falling. If you take a look at the interest, there's this another side. Now, if you take a look from 2010, this is the interest rates that one would receive. They were like falling over time, right? So basically, when interest rates are falling, the demand to buy houses is going to increase because many people can afford loans. They can even go ahead and want to opt for a loan. And which means if the demand increases, property prices increase as well.
Can you go back to the slide that you just showed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just to show, yeah, where property prices
interesting
in the past. Yeah. Let me, okay, I think I also had the same slide over here as well. So let me just jump in here. Yeah, so basically, again, the steps that one would have to take, let me just start from the beginning. First of all, determining which region you want to invest. Then set your goal. How much property can I invest by determining how much capital you have to invest? Yeah, because again, this 14,000 or how much capital you have as savings, it always determines the amount of loan you can get if you're talking about 100% financing. Yeah, of course, your income as well as your expenses, the calculation we did before, that also determines, which means the household, the free liquidity. It also determines the amount of loan you can get because that's also an important factor. Then after determining this one, then you have to go on a search. While searching, always keep in mind that the return on investment should always be higher than the interest. And knowing that the interest rates are quite high nowadays, so which means I'm looking for a return of investment of let's say 5% upwards. Yeah, simply just to cover the capital costs. And then when I get the right property, then it's a high time to speak to a real estate investment advisor. I would also say it's also high time to speak to a tax advisor as well as to a lawyer. Yeah. So those are people you definitely have to speak to make sure, okay, I can go ahead with this investment and everything is safe and sound. Yes. So we're reaching to the end, and I just want to get some feedback from one or two of you. Anybody, is there any questions that you have from now, or any statements you'd like to make?
Maybe share the last slide with your contact details.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted to add something. I met someone who said they saved I was asking them how they managed to invest in small properties. So this person told me that they never used to touch the Vinax Geld. So Vinax Geld was direct savings, and every month he would save 200 euros. And within 3 years, he had generated now this cost of capital for investing in small properties. So right now he has about 4.
Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah.
So,
thank you so much on my end, Osman. Wow, every day I learn something new.
yeah, thank you. So again, it always starts with, let's say we want to encourage you to take the step to invest in real estate. And if you want to find out more, I'm very, let's say, easy to deal with, I would say. One can reach out to me at any time. We always set an appointment, a video call, where we really get into your specific numbers, your specific situation, and just to see, okay, which property is out there. I know from other sessions that after the sessions, we had several who contacted me directly, said, okay, let's just set up a call, and we discuss everything through. And again, do not be afraid. It doesn't mean that I'm going to start charging you anytime you get in touch with me. The only thing is that for me, very important is if you get in touch with me, then there must be some seriousness about it, about moving forward. Yeah, let me also inform you how I'm being paid. I'm actually being paid by the bank. So which means if you happen to finance a property and I helped you get the loan, then I would get a commission from the bank. So I'm not going to send you any invoice or charge you anything. The only thing I expect is just, to bring the good amount of seriousness so that we can work through it together. That's I must say it, yeah, that's how it is. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so, but again, one can get in touch with me. I'm very relaxed. I answer very quick. So as soon as you get in touch with me, with the next, I'll say 3, 4, 5 hours, you have a response. And and I'll be happy to work with any of you, who's wishing to.